This is Gardening in America, and I'm Ed Hume. Today we're in Seattle, Washington. We're at the Woodland Park Zoo, and I'm with Sue Nickel, the supervisor of grounds and facilities. Sue, where is the zoo located?
It's about 6 miles north of downtown Seattle.
It's a beautiful facility. Tell me a little bit about the area that we're in right now.
We're in the tropical rainforest in the canopy exhibit, and you'll see a variety of birds from the canopies of tropical rainforests in Asia, as well as plants from rainforests in Asia.
This is more than a zoo, isn't it?
It's definitely more than a zoo. It's actually a wonderful garden.
How many different species would you have, for example, just in this one exhibit?
In this one particular exhibit zone, we actually have about 650 species of plants. And that's to illustrate the tremendous diversity of plants that you would find in tropical rainforests.
So you have a variety of habitats here at the zoo?
We sure do. We've been landscaping new habitats for our animals for about the last 10 years now, and we just recently opened the Trail of Vines exhibit, the Northern Trail. We also have the temperate forest, and we're working now on our savanna, and we'll be doing a new Australian exhibit this winter.
You know, I know this is one of the leading zoos in the country, but zoos have really changed in recent years, haven't they?
They have, and this zoo is one of the international leaders of a new kind of zoo exhibitry called natural habitats, where we try and show animals dwelling as close as possible to the kinds of habitats that they would be found in the wild. It really helps them in terms of providing them a healthy place to live, and also makes them much more educational for the visitor.
You know what I found very interesting in chatting with you before we went on air is the fact too that this is such a beautiful collection of horticultural plants, but when you do the pruning, they are shared, those plants at least that the animals can eat, that's shared with them.
One important thing that we always pay attention to is whether a plant is edible. And especially if an animal, its natural behavior is to eat plants, we are very concerned about their health. So we make special pains to keep toxic plants away from animals and edible plants with them. Whenever the gardeners do pruning of shrubs and trees around the zoo, we always take them to the herbivores so that animals such as elephants, deer, primates have a chance to eat them, and then we recycle them into zoo doo, frankly.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Sue. Next time you're in Seattle, be sure to visit the beautiful Woodland Park Zoo. The spring bulbs are hardly up, and now it's time to think about planting the summer bulbs. These are some of the daffodils that we planted last fall. And by the way, this is an excellent time to feed the foliage of these bulbs with a liquid type fertilizer, because that's the direct route back to the bulb. But let's talk about summer bulbs. And very quickly, I'll just add to the planting hole a little bit of peat moss and a little bit of processed manure. And then I'm going to add also a small handful of fish fertilizer, and it will be a transplanting type fertilizer, and then I'm going to mix it with the existing soil. Now in this particular case, I'm planting out these beautiful orchid glads, really very, very pretty plants to add to the garden at this time of the year for summer color. And you can see that the corms are glad-like. Whoops, they fell right into the hole, but there are 4 of them. And we'll just place those like so, about 4 to 6 inches deep, and we can just fill in the whole planting hole. Now, there's another one in there. Darn it, I thought there were 5 of them. So let me just dig down here along the side and put that one in too. Now, also for summer color, actually late spring and early summer color, are the beautiful anemones, and this is a St. Bridget type. Very, very pretty, nice for cut flowers too. So it's a late spring, early summer flowering plant, and it has a very unusual corm. here they are here. Isn't that unusual? So I've already prepared the soil, by the way, here. And what I'll do is just space these out so they don't touch each other, like so. And it's, not a bad idea if you want to soak those well. Now the soil's already prepared, so we'll just plant them. And always keep in mind that we plant these bulbs, usually about 2 to 4 inches deep, depending upon the size of them. And this is a good example because this is a small one. So this is all prepared already. I'll just add a little more soil to it and put them there in the planting hole. Once again, top side up always. You can tell the pointed end is up in this particular case. And then we'll just fill in the soil over the top of them, like so. And then last but not least, I may not get time to plant this, but I want to show it to you. This is the beautiful tigridia, or Mexican shell flower. It comes in several different colors. It only blooms one day. But there's so many blossoms coming that they flower for a long period of time. So now's a great time to plant those summer flowering bulbs. If you're limited in space, one of the fun things to do is to make up a strawberry barrel so you can enjoy fresh strawberries from your own garden. And what I have here is a particularly good eating variety. It's a variety called Rainier. And I'm just going to take these out and I'm going to plant them in this barrel. Now put a rock in there to cover the drainage hole, and I'll put some good potting soil here to begin. And then I'm going to begin planting the strawberries. So we'll work on this front side here for you. And I'll just take a single strawberry plant and work it right in to the side here. And then fill the soil in around it, like so. Okay, then let's go this way so you can see once again what we're working with. And again, all I'll do is put it in the side here. And then I'm going to actually put a little bit of soil over the roots of those two as well. So it looks like there are a few roots hanging out there. We don't want that. There we go. Just like that. And then we'll bring it around, and here's a lower area, so I'll put a little soil back on it and actually put a strawberry in there as well. And over here, also a very low area. And we'll put a strawberry in here. And first thing you know, these are going to take off and you're going to have the greatest fresh strawberries directly from your own garden, even if you live in an apartment, because you could grow these, if you wanted to, on the deck or on the lanai or any place similar to that. Let's see, we got her going here. All right, let me just grab a little more soil here very quickly. And you can see how quickly this can be done. Here we go. Just put this in like this, and you notice I'm feeding them from the inside out. So I'm trying to get the root system as best I can to kind of be within the container itself in a good potting mix. I think that's what's really important. I don't know if we can get this done in time so you can see it completed or not, but we'll sure try. Here's another planting hole here. And I'm trying to take the best. There are probably about 25 plants here. And still, I think you only need one per planting hole to really do an effective job. And the reason why I'm trying to do this is I want to show you also very quickly how to just do the top as well. So I'll skip a couple of those and go back and do them later. But what we want to do up here then is to plant probably 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 plants. And you can see that's a very easy process. And now's a good time to plant up that strawberry barrel so you can enjoy fresh strawberries from your own garden.
It may still be winter here in the Northwest, but recently we've had some great weather, providing the perfect opportunity for making hardscape improvements. The kind of improvements that add to the very foundation of our landscape, such as paths and walkways, garden borders and retaining walls. Products that add definition, utility, and beauty. And these are the kind of projects that don't have to be expensive, time-consuming, or even difficult. Today, I'm going to demonstrate the use of a unique product called Edgestone. Now, Edgestone was designed specifically for lawn edging and garden borders, but today we're going to use it as an edge restraint for a path leading to a seating area that I recently completed. The first step to laying Edgestone is smoothing out the area where the Edgestone will lay. We've already done that with the shovel, and now we'll begin laying the Edgestone. Edgestone comes in a half stone, which is called a starter stone. And as you can see, the unique shape of Edgestone allows the stones to turn, and in fact can do a radius as tight as 24 inches. But in this case, we'll start off with this half stone and then just simply continue adding the stones, fitting them snug in together. Now the neat thing about Edgestone is because they are locking together like this, and because each stone weighs 10 pounds, it's going to hold the material in the path in place and the mulch on the side of the garden, so nothing is going to move, and it will make an excellent border. Okay, so we're just going to continue now on the other side here, and we'll put the half piece up next to the 2x4 and continue on with the Edgestone, locking them together to one more stone, and then we'll add the gravel and give you an idea of just how nice this can look. Add the gravel, rake it smooth, add the bark dust to the garden area, and with a hose, wash and clean the entire area. I'll come back and finish the path just a little bit later, but you can see how easy it is to do. It took me just a few minutes to get this far.
It's spring and there are some beautiful plants in the garden, some that you can enjoy in your own garden, in fact. The heather, for example, have been in bloom for a long time. This is springwood white, and it started flowering around the first of the year and will flower for several weeks more. It's really a very pretty low-growing variety. Only grows about 6 inches high and may spread up to 6 feet wide. This is a little bushier variety, but a different color and really very pretty too, isn't it? It's a variety called Ghost Hills. Now the main thing that you want to remember about heather is they require well-drained soil and plant them right at ground level. Don't plant them too deep. Look at this one too. This is a beautiful variety of Arbrecia, which is a perennial plant, but it's evergreen as well. And it's just coming into bloom in the gardens in most cases. And then this is pure white. This is Iberis, or what we commonly call candy tuft. And look at those two together. When you get the purples and the whites together, they're really pretty, aren't they? These are really nice spring flowering plants. And then back here, here's a plant that's been in bloom in the garden since about October of last year. And some of the flowers are already gone, but here are some still to come on. So they're going to be in bloom for several weeks yet. And the clusters of flowers are very, very attractive. It's called Laurustinus. And this is an evergreen, whole bunch of different varieties. Some that only grow about waist high to some that will grow up maybe 12 feet in height. This is a plant that does quite well in full sun or partial sun and shade. And to trim it occasionally to give it a better shape is probably not a bad idea, but a nice evergreen. And here we have two other evergreens, all of the same family. This is called the Lily of the Valley shrub, and you'll notice one of them is pink and the other one is white. What's so neat about this plant is that it also comes in several different varieties, but all the new growth is really brilliant in color. usually kind of a rosy or rosy crimson, almost fluorescent in fact. And these plants do exceptionally well in almost any exposure, full sun to almost full shade. Neat plant to include in the garden. And of course, this is an old timer that we really haven't talked about much in recent times, but the beautiful new calla lilies, and they come, you know, in pink and also in yellow varieties too. So they're really very attractive. This is one that does die back during the winter, but then comes up in springtime. And then last but not least of these plants that flower in the springtime, and of course there are lots of others too, are the beautiful camellias. Many, many different varieties. This happens to be a single one, but some are semi-double and some are fully double. And the color range, of course, is from white all the way through red. Plant them in a location where they're protected from the hot midday sun. Bring a bright spot of spring to your garden with the spring flowering plants. We have three really interesting plants of the week this week. The first one is this Nandina moonbay. This is a dwarf variety, has a rounded or mounded habit of growth, and only grows about 3 feet high. Now the foliage on this one is lime green, but in the fall it takes on a beautiful scarlet cast. It's hardy down to -10 degrees, and it grows best in full sun or partial sun and shade. A really nice variety. And then here's another variety. This is a variety called Gulf Stream. Now this doesn't get much taller. It only grows about 4 feet tall. And it also is hardy down to a -10 degrees. It's evergreen as well. The foliage, though, in the new growth, it tends to be scarlet. And then in the fall and the winter, it takes on a bright red cast. Now, both of these plants, because they're quite dwarf, are ideal plants for foundation plantings, or gosh, you can use them really anywhere in the landscape. And of course, the benefit is that the foliage is not only colorful, it's a nice texture, but they grow in full bright sun. And then our third plant today is the laurel petalum. Isn't that gorgeous? Fringe flower is the common name. And by the way, I'm going to open this up so you can see the flower. It's very unusual and a very unusual color as well. This is an evergreen plant, and laurel petalum will grow only about 4 to 6 feet tall, and with easy pruning you can even keep it lower than that. And it'll spread to a width of about 4 or 5 feet. It's hardy down to about 0 and is evergreen and grows best in full sun. Now all of these plants are available at your local outlet. Today we're in the desert in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'm at the Marriott's Mountain Shadows Resort, and I'm with the Director of Public Relations, Valerie Lee. Could you tell me where the resort is located?
We're here sitting on 75 acres of sprawling landscape right at the base of Camelback Mountain, which is quite the landmark here. We have palm trees, pools, grass. It's quite the oasis.
I was going to say, it's really an oasis. You know, the grounds here are absolutely beautiful, and is what I like to share with our viewers particularly is that, boy, you can come to a place like this and learn all kinds of ideas on gardening. You know, I noticed, for example, your hanging baskets are just absolutely outstanding. And tell us also a little bit about your cactus area over here. I noticed you have all the cactus labeled by name.
Yeah, and it's very educational for the guests to kind of learn the desert plant life, and so they get the great mix of getting all the color around with some of the baskets that you mentioned, with the marigolds and the pansies and geraniums and all the things that flourish in the desert, but also get to see the desert plant life as well.
That's right, and the one thing that you wouldn't expect, I don't think, when you come to the desert, to see primroses in bloom and pansies and carnations, or the dianthus family and plants of that nature. The one thing also is I noticed in the cactus garden, the old man and the old lady cactus, and that entire planting, I think, is a great idea for or anybody that has a residence in the desert, or anyone that lives anywhere for the use of plant material.
Certainly. You'll see some saguaros that are 30 to 100 years old, depending on the different arms they have. And they are always very careful. If you even bought a house and wanted a saguaro, they are very careful in transplanting them carefully and can put one at your home.
And I think the lesson here to all of our viewers is that when you visit any place, always observe the surroundings and take advantage of the plantings, and maybe make a mental note of them and use them in your own landscape plantings. Tell me a little bit of the features. This is a gorgeous resort.
We have 336 rooms. Here we're standing right here in our terrace court.
Yeah.
We also have an 18-hole executive golf course, which is just lovely. There's swans in the lake and trees. It's just spectacular. We have restaurants, tennis, fitness center. So it'd be a wonderful vacation.
Oh yeah, there's an area out in an annex kind of to this actual property. Is that an old-time buildings or something?
Yes, that's our Western Town, which is great fun for families, steak fries, groups that come in-house, and they have their own little setting right there.
Thanks, Valerie. That's all the time we have today. Hope you can join me at the same time next time for Gardening in America. And remember, our relationship with the planet today is tomorrow's future. Have a great week.